Heroic efforts by bystanders after a tragedy on Mahogany Lake.
We dove quite a few times around the area and tried to find something.
Rescuers thought they were searching for one young man, only to pull two from the water. Plus, recovery efforts continue on Upper Kananaskis Lake.
Even if you're a strong swimmer, you hit that water and that extreme cold, it's going to put everyone to their limit.
4 tourists tip a canoe, 2 are still missing. And why does the province expect to be another $1 billion in the hole next year?
One is weaker demand expectations and at the same time, stronger supply expectations.
What's the impact as Alberta's deficit jumps?
We'll tackle these challenges head on.
CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Tara Nelson.
Hello and thank you for joining us. We begin with breaking news tonight. Police have issued a warning about an active shooter in Rosedale. Shots have been fired and people who live in that neighborhood are being warned to shelter in place. Police are surrounding the neighborhoods of Rosedale and neighboring Crescent Heights this evening. At this point, they say nobody has been injured and everyone is being told to stay away from that area until police say it is safe. Stephanie Thomas is at the intersection of 13th Avenue and 4th Street Northwest tonight where police are staging. Stephanie, police say this is an active threat.
That's right, Tara, as it is an active investigation, an active incident. Safety is the top priority for police. I myself, since I've been standing here, have been hearing multiple pops or things that sound like shots that have been fired. Now, details are limited, but here's what we know right now. Here's a look at the police perimeter. Officers are directing traffic away from the area. Police say a suspect has a firearm and has fired shots into the community and at police. Now, police say they were called in for an active shooter around 3:30 this afternoon at the 500 block of Crescent Road Northwest. So as a precaution, there's an order to shelter in place for nearby residents in Rosedale. Residents are asked to stay in their basements if they are at home to get below ground level. We've seen Hawks helicopter flying above. We've seen drones as well over top of the police perimeter. Now, police, EMS, and fire have set up a command center at North Hill Community Curling Club, which is just adjacent to the scene where I'm standing. We've also spoken to a few residents in the area who are kept outside of the police perimeter, and they tell us that they've been hearing pops and bangs this afternoon, but we have no word on who the suspect is or how this incident started. Now, Tara, anyone who cannot get back into their homes in Rosedale is being directed to the Crescent Heights Community High School for further direction. Tara, there's no reports of anyone injured, and we don't have any further word about the suspect in this case, but once again, there is a reminder from police for people to stay away from the area as this is an active, ongoing investigation with an active shooter.
Okay, Stephanie, thank you. We'll check in with you again in a little while. A tragedy on Mahogany Lake yesterday has left 2 young men dead and a community reeling. The bodies of 2 20-year-olds were recovered from the community lake last night. Jordan Canagan is in Mahogany with more. So, Jordan, what is the status of that lake tonight?
Well, Tara, this lake has reopened, and that happened earlier this afternoon, but only after police returned to the scene and the fire department returned to the water earlier on this morning. What's also been happening here throughout the day are members of the community coming by to the area to pay their respects and also to come to grips with what happened below the surface of Mahogany Lake. A pair of bouquets near the Mahogany Beach Club for 2 young lives lost in a tragic drowning.
It's sad for anybody, it's sad for anyone, but they're just, well, yeah, I guess I'd, probably tear up at anybody. They had their whole lives.
Around 5 p.m. Wednesday, witnesses saw someone go under the water near the dock and fail to resurface.
There was a couple of us, we asked them where the fellow went down, and they pointed to where they went down. So there was me and 2 or 3 other people. We dove in, and we dove quite a few times around the area and tried to find something, and we couldn't find anything.
All three of the Calgary Fire Department's aquatic rescue teams responded, along with volunteer divers, police, and paramedics.
They eventually did use other devices as well, including sonar and cameras, underwater cameras. They also used surveillance cameras from the Mahogany area to determine that there was indeed somebody that had gone missing in that area.
Search crews initially thought just one person had gone under. Then police discovered a second man was also missing. The bodies of two 20-year-old men were located and retrieved late Wednesday.
These are people's children, and you know, I have children that play at this lake a lot, and you know, all I'm trying to do is find them and just hopefully I'm in time.
The area of the lake where they were discovered is between 3 and 4 meters deep. Police say there's nothing suspicious about the situation, calling it a tragic incident.
It's always so devastating to hear about any of these incidents. I think emotionally for a lot of people, it's even harder when it is in a circumstance like this, when there are people around. I think the main message that I get from an instance like this is that it really can happen to anyone.
Really devastated for the community, for the families, and you know, hope that everybody reaches out and can help them in this time.
Now, this is not the first time tragedy has struck here at Mahogany Lake. 2 young girls have drowned here at the lake, one in 2021, the other in 2013. A statement from the Mahogany Homeowners Association says it holds family and friends of the victims close to their heart. Tara?
Okay, Jordan, thank you. The search continues in the mountains southwest of Calgary after 4 people capsized in a canoe. It happened on Upper Kananaskis Lake Tuesday afternoon. And while 2 people were rescued, another 2 have not been seen since. Terry Fikowski joins us from that area. And Terry, we are now 2 days into this recovery mission.
Tara, emergency crews had to call off their efforts yesterday due to high winds out on the water, but returned early this morning. A sobering scene as a dive team and boats spent much of the day just scouring the water and shoreline, searching for a man and woman who didn't resurface after the canoe they were in capsized on Tuesday into the frigid water. The stunning scenery and peaceful water overshadowed by a somber scene. Paddleboarders and other visitors to Upper Kananaskis Lake were asked to head to shore as an RCMP dive team scoured the water for a missing man and woman.
Going across and then just start a hike, but we ended up being pulled around by the authorities and the conservative officers just for safety reasons, because they were going to do a search.
RCMP and Kananaskis emergency crews were called around 4 o'clock Tuesday afternoon after a canoe capsized with 4 people inside. Bystanders jumped in to help and were able to pull a 30-year-old man and 34-year-old woman from the frigid water, but couldn't save a 34-year-old man and a 33-year-old woman. None of them were wearing life jackets.
More than 2/3 of water-related deaths are related to capsizing or falling overboard from boats or canoes, and life jackets are like seatbelts. They only work if you're wearing them.
Mounties say this incident is tragically similar to another in K Country after 2 people drowned after a canoe capsized in Barrier Lake just a week ago.
In the Kananaskis area, those are all glacier-fed lakes. They're extremely cold. Even if you're a strong swimmer, you hit that water and that extreme cold, it's going to put everyone to their limit. So those are, you know, we need to take those precautions.
The 4 were part of a group of 7 international visitors camping nearby while on vacation. Frequent visitors to the area say it's not unusual to see tourists unaware of the safety precautions needed heading out on the water.
Yeah, you see it sometimes where it's like, yeah, you really should have at least a life jacket. Water can be a lot colder than it feels when you're getting in.
The dive team conducted a sonar search of the lake Thursday, focusing much of their efforts around an island. A reminder for those on shore that tragedy can strike at any moment on the water.
That is awful.
Keep prayers and stuff for the families and stuff like that, just for peace. Definitely hard.
RCMP say a significant amount of personnel involved in the recovery efforts, including, of course, their dive team. There's also Kananaskis Emergency Services, Parks Canada also assisting with personnel as well as dogs to search the shoreline. And Tara, we've also seen helicopters from above. Back to you.
Okay, Terry, thank you. Calgary police have now completed the disposal of hazardous materials found 2 days ago in the Manchester industrial area. A package was found that contained substances like picric acid, which can be unstable, and it posed a safety risk to the public. Officers from the bomb squad began controlled detonations at the site yesterday. A plan was then made to move the rest of it to a secure site to destroy. The municipal emergency plan was deactivated at 2 p.m. today, and police thanked the public for remaining calm. Police say charges could be laid in this case.
I mean, there are potential, certainly, for criminal charges, but again, it would be speculative. It really depends on the circumstances. And I would also just point out, and thanks for that we also have Transport Canada that we're working with, and occupational health and safety, and so they also have their investigations ongoing at the same time.
The deputy chief says the case is not terrorism related, but the investigation into who's behind it continues. Judith Umbuck Library in Huntington Hills reopened today after a suspicious package scare there yesterday. Staff there found the item and the building was evacuated. Tactical officers checked it out and gave the all clear. The investigation continues into the cause of last night's townhouse fire in New Brighton. The fast-moving fire broke out in one unit of an 8-home building and spread to the attic and roof. One person was treated at the scene for smoke inhalation, and firefighters rescued one dog.
You're watching CTV News, Calgary.
The Canadian Severe Storms Laboratory says wind-driven hail damage in the Brooks area last week was among the worst its teams have ever documented. On August 20th, the researchers say a major storm affected a large swath, 80 kilometers long and 11 kilometers wide, between Brooks and areas to the north. The group sent teams to document the damage. They say hailstones were up to 70 millimeters in diameter, and winds between 120 and 165 kilometers an hour lasted 20 minutes or more. All buildings with west-facing plastic siding suffered 50 to 100% damage. Even vapor barriers were destroyed. There was heavy damage to asphalt shingles, metal roofs, and trees, and crops were totally wiped out. Well, let's bring Danielle in now as we inch closer to our long weekend. People want calm and hot. That's all they want.
You know what, Tara? I can't hear what you just said, but I'm assuming you're talking about the beautiful weather. And you did just show that storm there as well. And we were tracking that storm live as it was going through. It was one of the most impressive ones I've seen on the radar. Absolutely. So luckily, everyone's okay. But of course, a lot of damage cleanup there. Okay, we don't have those types of storms in the forecast, but we do have the potential for some thunderstorm activity, weaker, much weaker, over the coming days. So for the next couple afternoons, it's a possibility. 26 degrees is the temperature at the airport. It is a little gusty, 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. Tomorrow, sunshine to kick off the day, a high of 29 in the afternoon. And by 1 in the afternoon, we get into the chance of shower and thunderstorm activity. Your full forecast is just ahead, Tara.
Thanks, Danielle. Cirque du Soleil's newest show has taken over Stampede Park. The big top is up and rehearsals are underway for Echo. 2,600 attendees will pack that tent every night for the show's run. What they won't see, though, is all the work that goes on behind the scenes to make sure a show like this goes off without a hitch. Here's Kevin Fleming.
The performers are making the most of their rehearsal time before the premiere of Echo opens to Calgary audiences. Calgarian is among the cast, singing and playing the cello. Lizzie Munson joined Cirque du Soleil in 2016 at the Ka show in Las Vegas. Now she's getting to perform across the parking lot from where it all started for her, at the Stampede Grandstand show.
I would say Young Canadians did everything for me, really. That was the, pivotal thing in my career that made me who I am. That training was incredible, from singing, dancing, acting.
Echo has a big footprint at Stampede Park, with the big top being the highlight for visitors.
The logistics behind a show like this is very impressive. We're traveling here with 72 truckloads of equipment. It takes us about 7 days to set up and then about 4 days to tear down and go to the next city.
Kevin Albert has been with Echo since its inception and says he's always impressed at how the team comes together for each and every show.
We have 53 artists that you will see on stage at any point during the show, but we're 122 that are traveling with the show. So the rest of them are technical people, site people, maintaining this equipment here, the tents and all that stuff.
8 seamstresses are responsible for all the costumes and are able to make any alterations or fixes right on site. Lee McDermott is a former Olympic and Commonwealth Games gymnast and now the head coach for the performers who never stop perfecting their routines.
Our job is to make it look that easy, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. You know, again, working with the physical therapy team, making sure that we're always connected.
This is one of the most technically advanced shows for Cirque du Soleil with its massive moving cube on stage. And Lizzie Munson will have a lot of family and friends in the audience coming to see her. Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
And still ahead at 6 o'clock, a fiscal update from the province, and it's not looking great. The deficit has jumped $1 billion since the spring. What's causing it, and what does the province plan to do about it? And later, this isn't even his sport, but he sure held his own. The Calgary Flame lighting up the field at Stamps practice. A massive sinkhole opened up in Toronto. A significant portion of the intersection caved in and then filled with water. A water main break is to blame. The basements were flooded in several nearby homes. Alberta is falling deeper into the red, with the province projecting a $6.5 billion deficit in its first quarter economic update. That is up more than $1 billion from the spring budget, and it's renewing concerns about the province's reliance on resource revenue. Here's Mark Valani.
Alberta's government says it's steering through a storm of lower oil prices, weaker demand, and rising costs.
Our first deficit in 5 years.
The province projects a $6.5 billion deficit, up more than $1 billion from the projected hole in budget 2025. Operating expenses are also up by nearly $680 million. Much of that stems from declining resource revenue, now at $15.7 billion, down 38% from recent highs.
Our government has taken a very measured approach to dealing with the highs and lows to protect Albertans and our province from those unpredictable swings.
That's prompted Alberta to lower its oil price forecast to $63 U.S., a $26 decline since 2022. U.S. trade policies are adding to the uncertainty.
Things are just moving slower and more tentatively than they would otherwise. And that's going to, all else equal, reduce economic growth.
But at the same time,
oil production continues to rise, and the Trans Mountain expansion has helped with that, and that's keeping growth higher in Alberta.
To cope, the province is dipping into its contingency fund, $700 million for wildfires and another $750 million to cover cost pressures not offset by revenue. Population growth of 2.4% is adding pressure on health, education, and core services. Taxpayer-supported debt is forecast at $84 billion, with $3 billion in interest, enough to build 3 new hospitals.
They got to figure out a way of managing healthcare without it breaking the bank.
Small business advocates also worry about tax hikes, urging the province to provide relief.
Reducing the small business tax rate to 0%. This would only account for roughly 0.5% of Alberta government revenues.
On the plus side, stronger consumer spending and a housing boom are creating jobs.
Our employment numbers look pretty good. So, we haven't seen the same pullback as some markets have had.
This government wants to make sure we have spending in a place we're comfortable.
Mark Valani, CTV News, Calgary.
Now, despite the deficit, the province says it remains optimistic, given that nearly 90% of its energy exports are protected against tariffs under the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement.
This is CTV News, Calgary.
Let's bring Danielle back in now and look ahead to our 5-day forecast.
Yes, and while we have lots of heat in the forecast, I'm sure you've noticed maybe a little bit of a dip in temperature, at least by a couple of degrees in most communities. In some communities, pretty significant change. For example, this time yesterday, we were well into the 30s, Brooks, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, and now we're in the low 20s in Lethbridge, mid-20s, Brooks and Medicine Hat. So certainly a cool down there. We're a couple degrees cooler today in Calgary in comparison to yesterday. And tomorrow will be somewhat the same as well. So, and then we bounce back up again. But the next heat trend that we're looking at getting into is really looking at cooler overnights, so we may not see as many warnings issued. There is still a heat warning in place for some communities, but that will likely be dropped because temperatures are starting to cool at this point. Again, we may see some reissued later next week. Okay, radar and satellite, you can see that system pushing in from the states. We talked about this, delivering some rain to the far south, heaviest in the southeast corner. That instability from this as it pushes air up the mountains in the mountain areas, and this will not be able to track east once again today. But tomorrow there is the possibility it could, and it could get to QE2, Highway 2, Calgary included in that risk as well. I'll show you that in the Futurecast in just a second. Here's a look at the rainfall tracking towards the Medicine Hat area at this point, and you can see that activity really starting to die out off to the west right now because it just doesn't have enough steam to start making its way and intensify and tracking to the east. But tomorrow, a bit of a different story. So that core of the system still in the southeast through tomorrow. For Calgary, sunshine for the morning hours, but by the time we track into about 1 in the afternoon, we get into the chance of some pop-up showers, maybe even some non-severe thunderstorm activity as well, and that will happen along the mountains and will likely track east of the QE2 as well. It may even be a little more intense. This is a look at Saturday. Sunshine for the morning, and then by the supper hours, we may see some decent thunderstorm activity along that QE2. Okay, looking at your longer range forecast here, your Action Furnace 5-day forecast. 29 degrees for our high for tomorrow, good chunk of sunshine, and then by 1 in the afternoon, again, we get into that chance of shower activity, even some thunderstorm activity possible, non-severe. It may get a little intense later on Saturday in some communities. Calgary could see that as well later in the day, especially by the supper hours. But as you can see, we have lots of heat right through long weekend with the most stable and brightest days, Sunday and Labor Day Monday.
Still to come, back to breaking news in the Northwest tonight. Police say an active shooter in the neighborhood of Rosedale, and that community is currently locked down. Welcome back. Let's return to our breaking news in the Northwest tonight. There is an active shooter in Rosedale. Shots have been fired at police and at people who live in that Rosedale area. They are being warned to shelter in place tonight. Police have locked down an area along Crescent Road. Stephanie Thomas joins us now. Stephanie, police say this is an active threat to residents in that area.
Right, Tara. Police maintain that it's still important for residents to stay away or stay inside. And there are some signs that things are ramping up. We're hearing from some viewer tips that police have deployed tear gas, that they've surrounded one home in this Rosedale neighborhood. Now, details are limited, but here's what police have shared. Now, police say that a suspect has a firearm and had earlier this afternoon fired shots into the community and at police. Police say they were called in for an active shooter around 3:30 this afternoon, reported to the 500 block of Crescent Road Northwest. Now, as a precaution, there is an order to shelter in place. Police are redirecting traffic away from the area at around 13th Avenue Northwest. Residents are asked to go into their basements or get below ground level if they are at home. We've also seen Hawk's helicopter flying above, and there have been several drones also deployed over the scene. Police, EMS, and fire set up a command center at the nearby North Hill Community Curling Club. Now, we heard from residents and passersby when we set up that they were hearing bangs and pops. I myself heard that sound of what seemed like gunfire earlier this afternoon. But once again, we have no word on how this started or the status of the suspect. We just know that no one has been injured so far, Tara, and that anyone who's not able to go home can go to the Crescent Heights High School to shelter in place and get more direction from there, Tara.
Okay, thank you for that information. We'll check in with you again in a bit, Stephanie. We got a snapshot today of the state of sport in Canada, and it is, in a word, disturbing. The takeaway from the Future of Sport Commission preliminary report is that abuse, harassment, and discrimination are widespread and ongoing in a culture of silence. CTV's Andrew Johnson has more on the findings and the recommendations.
Do you see this? They traveled the country for a year, speaking to hundreds of athletes, administrators, coaches, and parents. The consensus, clear.
The Canadian sports system is in crisis. As many have told us, it is broken.
The Future of Sport in Canada Commission found evidence of widespread abuse and mistreatment at all levels. A lack of protection for children and Olympians alike left vulnerable.
Physical punishment, sexual assault, training while injured, humiliation, intimidation, isolation tactics, failures to provide medical care, discrimination and exploitation.
The commission also found in a win-at-all-costs culture of silence, when an athlete musters up the courage to come forward, they often run into a brick wall.
Lost in the web of various complaints mechanism, resulting in many feeling helpless and abandoned.
The commission is making 71 recommendations for change. It suggests the creation of a unified national safe sport tribunal to eliminate the patchwork between local, provincial, and federally regulated organizations and enforce legislation at all levels. Federal funding being made conditional on compliance, background checks, and a nationwide public registry to flag wrongdoers and restrict access. Survivors of abuse like gymnast Amelia Klein say with the release of this report, their horrible experiences are finally being validated.
To have them influence what we hope is going to be meaningful change in the system is, there are hardly words to actually describe what that feels like.
She says the ball is now in Ottawa's court to act. These are only recommendations that, after another round of feedback, will then be presented to government. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
We have still got our eye on breaking news tonight. There is an active shooter in the community of Rosedale. Shots were fired at police and into the community this afternoon. Many residents near the 500 block of Crescent Road Northwest have been told to shelter in place. We'll go back to our reporter on the scene in a few moments. A Calgary couple's country music dreams are big, even if the stage is small. They've created the Littlest Honky Tonk, a converted horse trailer that now serves as a mobile music venue. A dozen country music artists have already performed on that stage, and now country and rap superstar Post Malone has climbed inside too. Here's Stephanie Thomas.
Post Malone and his band crammed into the Littlest Honky Tonk, a converted horse trailer towed from Calgary down to floor level at the Rice Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, Utah. Posty is on the road for his country album F1 Trillion Stadium Tour, but he wanted to strum on this little stage.
His manager saw one of our videos organically, which is the best way that we could get out.
Boots and Laura Graham recently started a video series recording local and international country musicians in the Littlest Honky Tonk. In June, Post Malone recorded 2 videos celebrating country western lifestyle.
He was dragging calves at a branding the day before, like working cowboy stuff. And he has platinum teeth and face tattoos and a rap career, so I was not expecting that. It was completely out of left field for me.
The couple began refurbishing a horse trailer in 2021, over time adding more music memorabilia. Now, it's like a mini museum.
It's like stuff we're interested in and have always been interested in, so it's like country music stuff. As people know what we're doing, they kind of want to be a little part of the project as well.
The stories from this tiny set are almost as precious as the items on its walls.
Post Malone stood between these horns, or Corb Lund was a little bit too tall, so he had to crouch down in here. And
they hope to one day host other icons of country music and maybe take the trailer down to Nashville.
Sky's the limit. Dolly Parton. Here we come.
Stephanie Thomas, CTV News, Calgary.
The Littlest Honky Tonk will be at Spruce Meadows for the Masters Show Jumping Tournament next week if you want to check it out. That's pretty cool. Why not Dolly Parton?
Amazing.
Go big.
Yeah.
All right, we're kicking off trending with a sneaky snacker. This is Peanut. She lives at the San Diego Zoo. She likes to grab a little snack, and then she likes to duck down and hide from the prying eyes. She's not very good at hiding. We know where she is, but she's very good at finishing her snacks.
She grabs that pretty good, doesn't she? I mean,
I could watch her all day.
Yeah, she's pretty cute. She has lots of her own videos. She's famous. Well, you know the expression, dance like no one's watching. Sometimes you really do have to just let the music move you. Yeah, talk about getting lost in the music. This little boy can't contain himself. He's got moves to go along with this live jazz playing from inside the restaurant.
You know, the best thing is when those people walk by, just ignores them.
They didn't even notice.
Don't even register.
Like, look at this kid. He's got all the moves.
Doing what I'm doing.
Well, a world-famous skydiver has pulled off a jaw-dropping stunt that left many in San Francisco awestruck. Okay, so Red Bull athlete and sky surfing pioneer Sean McCormick first jumped out of a chopper at 5,000 feet. No. He then used his board to execute a rail slide along the cables of the Bay Bridge.
Oh my!
What?
Where do they think
oh my
of these
goodness! How do you even do that? And then
How do you even practice for
I
it?
don't know. It took a hard right. He landed on a barge. Apparently, they spent 18 months working on this trick. But I mean, Red Bull does some pretty amazing things.
Yeah, they do.
There's no
Everyone
limit.
thought it was cool.
Gives
Except
you
the drivers
wings.
that had to wait, but everyone else did. We have more good news for Canadian banks. They have beat profit expectations despite the threat of tariffs. Those details are in our business report.
Okay, your Skywatch weather camera. We do have some cloud cover out there. That's from a stateside system pushing on some clouds to Calgary. And we also have a little bit of rainfall happening to the far south. So there's a lot going on in the province at the moment. Many communities in the far south are cooler than what we've had in the past couple days. But for us here in Calgary, we've pretty much been status quo for the last few days. Just about that warning criteria, although we do have a heat warning in place. 26 degrees is the current temperature in Calgary. 27 was our high today. And we're in those mid-20s, Brooks, Medicine Hat, lower 20s for Lethbridge over to Pincher Creek. Still heat warnings issued and in place for Calgary over to Vulcan, Champion, Lomond, Brooks, Hanna, Drumheller up through Red Deer, Kananaskis included in this as well. So we're looking at those temperatures around that 29-degree mark and those overnight lows in those mid-teens, certainly possible over these next few days, basically up until the long weekend is over. Okay, here's that system stateside that's pushing in. So rain heavy at times south of Medicine Hat, starting to creep into Medicine Hat as well. And then we have that activity in the mountains, but that's tracking off to the east. There you go. There's a look at what's tracking towards Medicine Hat. Rain could be heavy. Calgary is quiet. Off to the west, things are dying down. Your 24-hour forecast brought to you by Action Furnace. Fix right or it's free. For this evening, we are looking at 23 degrees, a little breezy at times, gusts up to 40 kilometers per hour. Tomorrow, bright and sunny in the morning and 16 degrees, and an afternoon high of 29. By 1 o'clock, we get into the chance of showers and thunderstorm activity. 32 degrees for Edmonton tomorrow, 29 for Red Deer, 31 for Drumheller, and 26 for Lethbridge, and close to that in Medicine Hat. Tara.
Thank you, Danielle. Let's return to our breaking news now in Northwest Calgary. Police are still dealing with an active shooter in Rosedale, and a shelter-in-place order remains in effect. Stephanie Thomas is nearby, but safely away from the action tonight. Stephanie, neighbors continue to stay in their homes, and they are very concerned about this.
Tara, as you mentioned, there still is the shelter-in-place order from Calgary Police, and we are here at the edge of the police perimeter with police permission to make sure that we're keeping a safe distance ourselves, but it's still very much an active scene. We're hearing the Hawks helicopter circling above overhead. Now, there's no word from police about how this started, but here are the details that we do know, that police are looking into a report of a suspect with a firearm who fired shots into the community and also at police. Now, police say they got the call around 3:30 this afternoon to the 500 block of Crescent Road Northwest. So as a precaution, that's why they initiated the order for residents to stay in their homes. We've got police redirecting traffic so that people who don't live in the area do not come into danger's way. Residents who are within the containment scene are being asked to go down below ground level or stay in their basements. We've got police, fire, EMS, and the tactical unit all set up near the North Hill Community Curling Club. We spoke to some residents who didn't want to go on camera, but they tell us that they heard some pops and bangs and what sounded like gunshots. Now, one man who lives nearby says he first heard about the shelter in place and the unfolding active shooter situation through text messages from friends. Now, a reminder, he is sheltering in place. He says he has praise for the police response and how they contained the scene and set up roadblocks. And he says he's never seen a violent incident like this in this neighborhood, and says it's unnerving.
It's not the type of neighborhood where you would ever get to witness something like that. But when it happens, you know, you're fearful because it becomes very, very, scary and invasive for people that, haven't done this before, aren't used to it. We all have kids.
Tara, there's no reports of anyone being injured, but we also do not have an update on the suspect right now. This very much is an active investigation. Wanted to update the public as well about a brief lockdown at Crescent Heights High School. Students there were told to go into the gym, but as soon as it was cleared for safety by police, those students and staff were free to go and no one there is affected. But a reminder to residents of Rosedale right now that there is a police shelter-in-place order as this active investigation is ongoing. Tara.
Okay, Stephanie Thomas reporting. Stephanie, thank you for all of that this evening. And of course, we'll keep watching this tonight and have updates on our website. A classic Canadian store is opening a location in North Edmonton. As CTV's Evan Kenny reports, it's unclear who owns the store or what it will look like, but Zellers is returning.
It's not an official announcement by them. It's a very soft launch. They're opening quite slowly.
It's the launch of a Canadian shopping staple, Zellers. According to Londonderry Mall's parent company, Layad, the store is opening tomorrow.
A lot of home goods and various clothing for men, women, kids. They'll also, what's pretty exciting is they will be bringing back the Zeddy teddy bear.
The shop will be on the bottom level of the space taken up by the former Hudson's Bay store. Zellers was owned by HBC, which did resurrect the brand for a short time. Earlier this year, Canada's oldest company and its intellectual property was sold to Canadian Tire, including the Zellers slogan, "The lowest price is the law." However, in a statement, Canadian Tire says its purchase did not include the Zellers brand. Regardless of who owns it, some Edmontonians are happy it's returning. What are your thoughts on Zellers coming back?
I'm super excited. That's my era. I grew up going to Zellers, so super excited. It's always been, I don't know, a cheap place to shop, and yeah, it just reminds me of being a kid again.
I like it. I used to shop at Zellers lots before they went away, so I'm glad to hear they're coming back.
Layad couldn't give away too many details, like if the store will include a restaurant. It does expect more people will come through Londonderry Mall to see it for themselves. Evan Kenny, CTV News, Edmonton.
Some good news for another pair of major banks in Canada as both topped analysts' expectations for quarterly profits. Here's BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya.
Both TD and CIBC have beat profit expectations in their latest quarters. Earlier this year, higher interest rates and the threat of a trade war with the U.S. caused most banks to increase their loss provisions. But it turns out, so far, tariffs have had less of an impact on the economy than expected. Analysts say CIBC in particular outperformed its peers with a strong net interest margin and cost control. And here's a look at how the trading day ended today. The Canadian dollar is up slightly at 72.71 cents U.S. West Texas Intermediate climbed 45 cents to 64.60. Western Canadian Select also up 95 cents to 51.18. And the TSX is also up, finishing at 28,434. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
It's a three-peat for Team Alberta. For the third straight year, our box lacrosse team is bringing home the gold. Glenn has that story for us next. The Calgary Stampeders and the Edmonton Elks are getting ready for another Labor Day Classic. Glenn is back with us. And Glenn, there was some concern from the Stamps at practice yesterday.
Tara Vernon Adams Jr. wasn't out there for practice yesterday. He was homesick, and after Tevin Jones missed the Riders game due to illness, some were thinking, uh-oh, here we go again. But the good news, Adams Jr. was on the field on Thursday and looked no worse for wear. Adams Jr. has had a really strong season for the Stamps, definitely one of the leaders on this team. The last game he missed, the Stamps lost, so head coach Dave Dickinson says it was great to see number 3 on the field today.
Didn't look like as extreme or as quite like potentially Tevin. So another couple guys, though, unfortunately, that are under the weather and are not here. And to my point, it's just hydrate, be ready. It's hot. We've got a few days. Lock in and let's go.
Kickoff for the Labor Day Classic a little after 4 on Monday. Team Alberta is back from winning yet another U22 Women's Box Lacrosse Championship. They got the job done in Halifax recently and at the same time made a little history. Lizzie Findlay and Mika Kalinic are making it a habit of winning national championships in box lacrosse. For the third straight year, the dynamic duo from Calgary were part of Team Alberta and have returned home with gold medals. At this year's Nationals in Halifax, Alberta was dominant. They went undefeated, had a +36 goal differential, and beat BC 9-2 in the final.
It feels amazing. I didn't really expect that to happen. I didn't even know if I was going to get a chance to play Team Alberta a couple years ago. And to do it 3 times, especially with the team that we did, just feels unbelievable.
The third straight championship is a first for Alberta.
First time for Alberta, male or female, to ever win 3 national championships in a row. Of course, some of the BC and Ontario teams have done that in the past with their historic programs. So yeah, this is a really big progressive point for us.
Winning 3 titles in a row isn't easy. Kalinic credits the closeness of the group and a culture that's built on winning.
It's just a testament to how special our group is, and to be able to really cement our legacy really as the best team for 3 years in a row it's just shows how impressive and powerful the whole group is. Coaches, staff, managers, and players. It takes a whole village.
The only negative for Team Alberta at the Nationals is Lacrosse Canada didn't have the trophy there.
I was very disappointed. We had it the last 2 years. We didn't spend much time with it, but it's just one of those memories that you don't forget, is grabbing that trophy, bringing it to your team, and everyone celebrating with it together.
Both Lizzie and Mika have now aged out, but they know the program is in good hands.
I think that us kind of putting our foot through the door and showing the younger girls that it is possible will definitely pave a path for girls so that they can walk along it too.
All right, getting back to the Stamps, they had a new player on the field after practice today. Not a football player, but a hockey player. Flames forward Ryan Lomberg strapped on the helmet and tried his hands at receiving, getting some helpful tips from Stamps receiver Jalen Philpott, and Adams threw him some passes as well. Remember, it was Lomberg who had Malik Henry on the ice last year, so the Stamps kind of returning the favor. Lomberg says it was a lot of fun trying a new sport.
Yeah, it was great. The boys took care of me for sure. QB1 was throwing some nice passes, so he made it easy on me. It's incredible being out here. Beautiful stadium. Under the sun. The practice looks like it had a lot of intensity there, so it was very cool to be here today. Yeah, definitely. Admire what they do. The athletes that they are. How physically taxing it is on their bodies. Some of the hits that they take and give out are incredibly big. So and you can see it by the size of some of these guys and how fast they're moving and stuff like that. So no, it's an awesome experience to be around and kind of take part of their practice and just take it in and watch how incredible these athletes are.
Lomberg didn't think he earned a contract today, but that's okay. The Flames, they'll be on the ice for main training camp next month.
He's still good at what he does. Thank you, Glenn. Well, once again, police say there is an ongoing active shooter situation in Rosedale tonight. People who live there are still being warned to shelter in place. Shots have been fired, and police have blocked off roads in the community. We'll be keeping our eye on this. We'll have updates on our website throughout the course of the evening and details tonight on CTV News at 11:30. Danielle will give you a final last minute or so for the weather.
Yeah, and you can expect heat really through long weekend. I'll show you the longer range forecast here. 29 degrees for tomorrow, 28 for Saturday. Both days, the chance of late day showers, maybe even a non-severe thunderstorm in the city. 28 degrees through Sunday, 28 degrees through Labor Day, Monday. It will be cooler next week. Not cold, absolutely not cold, but we won't have as many days in those high 20s. So enjoy the high 20s while they're here. Weather window brought to you by Lux Windows and Doors, crafting quality windows and doors for your style, budget, Alberta's climate. Libby Goodless sent this in, and she calls this her road trip. So I believe she did this a couple days ago. Not a bad weekend for a little road trip to the mountains.
Beautiful. Love the pink shot. Thanks for your company tonight. Have a great evening. Remember, for breaking news anytime, go to our website.